One of the reasons we're so fascinated by the monarchy is the aura of mystery and mysticism that surrounds it. Today we're talking about objects whose very descriptions sound like something out of a fantasy novel. It seems they could easily be Voldemort's Horcruxes. And yet they are real, and their mind-boggling history spans centuries and millennia. "62 children of the royal family were christened in this gown, including Elizabeth II herself, Charles III, William, and Harry. It is made of the finest silk and Honiton lace. The lace itself deserves a separate discussion. It is handmade using a 16th century technique and features traditional motifs of daisies, roses, ivy, lilies, and butterflies. Honiton lace was brought into fashion by Queen Victoria when she commissioned a wedding dress trimmed with it, and later, that very christening gown for her daughter. It was made by the Queen's embroiderer, Janet Sutherland, in 1841. Of course, after a century and a half, the fabric had worn out, so Queen Elizabeth II commissioned an exact replica, and since 2004, the family's children have been baptized in it. The original, along with 200 other items from the Queen's wardrobe, will be on display starting April 10th at the King's Gallery at Buckingham Palace. For the exhibition, the shirt underwent 100 hours of meticulous restoration. It is accompanied by a handwritten list by Elizabeth II, containing the names of everyone who has worn it. Yes, a rectangular sandstone block. It's not magical, nor is it part of Stonehenge. It was simply chosen by Edward I in 1296. Before that, Scottish rulers were crowned on the Stone of Destiny. The Celts believed that the patriarch Jacob rested on this stone in Bethel when he had a vision of angels. Later, the stone was transported through Egypt and Spain, and in 700 BC, it was placed on the hill of Tara in Ireland, from where the Celts took it, and from them, as we recall, the English. In 1307, a throne was crafted at Westminster Abbey, with the Stone of Destiny placed beneath the seat. But there is a nuance. It is claimed that in ancient times, a prophecy was inscribed on the stone, stating, "Wherever this sacred stone may be, there shall the Scottish people reign." In 1603, Queen Elizabeth I died, and she was succeeded on the English throne by King James VI of Scotland. So the prophecy came true. On Christmas Day in 1950, the stone was stolen by Scottish nationalists. It sounds intimidating, but in reality, they were just ordinary students from Glasgow. For some reason, they abandoned the stone at Arbroath Abbey, where it was found and returned to Westminster. However, in 1996, they changed their minds and returned it. It is now kept at Edinburgh Castle, from where it is brought to London for coronations. The stone is originally called the Stone of Scone, after the village where it was brought in 840 BC. In Scotland, there is a pastry called a scone, which, according to one theory, was named in its honor. Wikipedia tells us, "It is hard to say what a scone is, bread or a pastry. Debates on this topic have been going on for a long time. It is almost as difficult to say what is kept in Edinburgh, the real sacred stone or a fake." There is a theory that it was swapped as far back as 1296 during the conquest of Scotland, and during the theft in 1950, it broke in half. Plus, as you may recall, the thieves simply left the relic lying in the middle of the abbey. Suspicious? Very. Spoiler, you don't eat it. It also comes with an eagle-shaped vial that contains no medicine, but rather holy oil, which is used to anoint the hands, head, and chest of the person ascending to the throne. The oil's composition is kept secret, and the anointing itself is considered so sacred that it is screened off with a special screen and never shown on television. Can you imagine how many conspiracy theories could be concocted? In the British tradition, the monarch becomes monarch precisely at the moment of anointing, not when the crown is placed upon their head. The tradition stems from the Bible, and the oil is consecrated at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. So, about the spoon. It's practically the oldest relic used in coronations. It was made in the 12th century. After the execution of Charles I in 1649, all symbols of power, crowns, scepters, swords, were destroyed. The spoon miraculously survived. It was purchased for 16 shillings by the official Clement Kinnersley. He returned it for the coronation of King II, and, of course, made a small profit on the resale. The spoon is made of silver, gilded, and, after its return in the 17th century, adorned with 4 pearls. Charles III, a conservationist, requested that the traditional composition based on animal products, civet oil from the glands of small mammals and ambergris from the intestines of sperm whales, be replaced with a vegan alternative for his coronation. According to legend, Mary, Queen of Scots, gave them to her lady-in-waiting as she was on her way to her execution. The large silver case is shaped like a skull and is entirely covered in engravings. On the forehead is a depiction of death with a scythe and an hourglass, surrounded by a quote from Horace. "Pale death comes with the same step to the huts of the poor and to the palaces of kings. It seems one could gaze at them endlessly. In the upper part, Adam and Eve play in paradise, and nearby is the crucifixion of Christ between 2 thieves. Beneath these scenes runs an open-work band composed of symbols of the Passion of Christ. On the back of the skull is depicted a serpent biting its own tail, a symbol of eternity. Instead of a brain, it contains a dial depicting Saturn devouring his children, along with the inscription, Sicut meis sic et omnibus idem. I treat everyone the same. It seems like a truly eerie artifact, but in reality, Memento Mori decorations were a common practice during the Renaissance. That's nothing. Mary Stuart had a medallion shaped like a coffin, inside which lay the hair of her first husband. Mary Stuart's watch is on display at the Watchmakers Museum at the Science Museum in London. According to antique dealers, the style of the exhibit belongs to a type that appeared 100 to 150 years after the Scottish Queen's death, meaning that the Queen's actual watch has most likely been lost. The last sacred object to lighten up this somber list is Charles III's toy. Of course, it's not a relic in the strict sense, and no one will be hunting for it for centuries to come. However, judge for yourself. The current king has a teddy bear from his childhood that is over 70 years old. According to former palace staff, the king still never parts with the teddy bear, not even when traveling. For many years, only one person was allowed to handle the toy's body, the king's personal valet, Michael Fawcett. Tina Brown, author of The Windsors and other books about the crown, was the first to reveal this, but other authors do not deny it either. He was the only person allowed to pick up a needle and thread to mend Prince Charles's teddy bear. He was well past 40, and every time the bear needed mending, it felt as if his own child were undergoing major surgery, writes Charles's biographer, Christopher Anderson. Surprisingly, in light of recent events, former Prince Andrew also has a special fondness for teddy bears. According to former Royal Guard officer Paul Page, Andrew has a bed on which 50 teddy bears lie, and the maids are given a laminated photograph so they can carefully return each bear to its exact spot. Otherwise, they're in for a scandal. In fact, the attachment to teddy bears isn't as strange as it seems. In Britain, they hold a special place. Many people collect them and even, as psychoanalysts note, use them to express repressed emotions. There is a whole tradition of commemorative bears released to mark major events. The British have their own Olympic bear, a toy for Queen Elizabeth II's Jubilee, and, of course, for the coronation of King Charles III.